Thank you for joining us for the announcement of our 2023 Places in Peril. I'm Mark McDonald, President and CEO of the Georgia Trust for Historic Preservation. 2023 marks the 18th year for the Georgia Trust Places in Peril program. Every year, the Trust identifies sites that we believe have historic significance, face a real threat, are representative of preservation issues around the state, and have the potential to benefit from heightened awareness and support from the Georgia Trust. The Trust will work closely with representatives associated with each site to develop unique approaches for their preservation. But we can't do it alone. Like all our programs, the success of the Places in Peril program depends on your support. One way you can assist these efforts is by becoming a member of the Georgia Trust, which can be done by visiting our website. Thank you for your ongoing support. And now, let's unveil the 10 sites selected for the 2023 Places in Peril list. A contributing property in the Sweet Auburn Historic District, 229 Auburn Avenue, has been home to several African American businesses during the 20th century, including a branch office of the Atlanta Life Insurance Company. Sweet Auburn, a national landmark district, is a historic African American neighborhood in downtown Atlanta that was once one of the largest concentrations of African American businesses in the country during the 20th century. In March of 2008, a tornado damaged several buildings in the district, including the loss of the Herndon building adjacent to 229 Auburn Avenue. The former Atlanta Life Insurance branch office still stands, but it has been vacant for years and was identified by a National Park Service study as the most imperiled building in the Sweet Auburn district. Recent redevelopment activity has brought important focus to the site. Local and state advocates have worked to secure a commitment to preserve the structure. While owners and developers are in the planning process, the rehabilitation and sensible reuse of 229 Auburn is vital to the long-term preservation of this district to maintain its national significance. The Beulah Grove Lodge number 372, Free and Accepted Masons, was the brainchild of freedman Jack Smith. Smith provided the land in 1881 for a church, lodge, and school to be built for the African American community in Douglasville. The building was later constructed by lodge members around 1910 with a schoolroom for the Pleasant Grove Colored School on the ground floor and a Masonic lodge space on the second floor. Owned by the neighboring Pleasant Grove Baptist Church, the building has not been in regular use for almost 4 decades. Beulah Grove Lodge and School stands as an important piece of history in the Jim Crow South. Many rural African American communities utilize these communal buildings for multiple purposes, reflecting their need for independence and self-reliance. Due to its infrequent use, the lodge has deteriorated to a dangerous state, and rehabilitation efforts have been complicated by the pandemic. However, Douglas County has selected Beulah Grove for inclusion in the South Georgia Scenic Bypass Route, encouraging those involved to see this important historic site saved. Chickamauga Lodge number 221, Prince Hall affiliate of the Free and Accepted Masons, was organized in 1916 by once enslaved and first-generation freed African Americans. The current building was completed in 1924 after the previous building burned. The members of this lodge were community leaders and local oddfellows. The lodge was also the location for the chartering and meeting of the Walker County African American VFW in the 1940s. A chapter of the Order of the Eastern Star, chartered in 1944 as a women's group, also met here. The interior and exterior of the building need repair. Pressing needs include a new roof and structural evaluation. Now cared for by local masons from other regional lodges, the building remains an important space for the African American community in Chickamauga. Dasher High School, named for Mayor Robert Dasher, was built in 1928 as the third public high school for African American students in Valdosta, and it is the only remaining school building from that era. Several prominent leaders of the Valdosta community graduated from Dasher High School, including writer and journalist Louis E. Lomax, the nation's first African American television journalist. The Coastal Plain Area Economic Opportunity Authority now uses the building to provide services to low-income households. Dasher High School continues to serve the citizens of Valdosta as a community center. However, parts of the building, particularly the auditorium, are unsafe for the public. The Economic Opportunity Authority, in partnership with the Valdosta Heritage Foundation and a local Rotary Club chapter, hopes to preserve this part of Valdosta's African American legacy by restoring Dasher High School and utilizing it to better serve its residents. Herbert Hub Dudley, a prominent black business owner in Dublin, opened the Dudley Motel in 1958 to accommodate black travelers during the tumultuous civil rights era. In addition to this 12-unit motel, Dudley also owned the nearby Retreat Cafe and service station, as well as other businesses for African American patrons in Dublin. The Dudley Motel was the first African American hotel opened in the area, and it was listed in African American travel guides such as the Green Book. Important guests included Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Andrew Young. The Dudley Motel closed in the 1980s and has been vacant since. However, its original details remain intact. Although it has been identified as a significant site with potential for heritage tourism, a preservation plan is needed to protect and rehabilitate the hotel, both for its cultural significance and its example of mid-century architecture. Lee's Mill, which sits along the headwaters of the Flint River, was operated by a Clayton County pioneer family up until the death of its patriarch, W.L. Lee, in 1933. The earliest portions of the structure may date to the antebellum period, when William Thames operated a saw and grist mill in the same area. Though ruins today, the mill's complete wooden structure still stood in 1946, when it was photographed by noted Atlanta historian Howard Kurtz. With the dominating growth of the nearby Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, the area near the mill has been zoned for heavy industrial development for decades. Today, the ruins of Lee's Mill are a small pocket of Georgia's rural past, tucked into the shadows of industrial expansion. As a result of such development, the Flint River experiences intensive floods due to runoff from the hard surfaces of the upstream airport and the parking lots, eroding what remains of the mill structure. Additionally, the mill ruins, located on private land, remains unsecured and threatened by trespassing and vandalism. Stabilization efforts will allow this tangible connection to a rural past to be saved for future appreciation of history that can be difficult to discern in such an intensively developed portion of the state. Built in the late 1830s as the homestead of the Brigadier General and State Senator Eli McConnell, the McConnell Chadwick House was once one of the earliest structures in Cherokee County. During this time, McConnell, also an enslaver, had been authorized to mediate conflict between Native Americans and white settlers in the area and to sell property after the 1838 Cherokee removal. McConnell helped found the town of Hickory Flat and, as state senator, advocated for the creation of Milton County, which is today a part of Fulton County. The McConnell Chadwick House, architecturally significant for its Greek Revival design, is unoccupied and threatened by rapidly expanding residential and commercial development. The house sits beside Highway 140 with thousands of motorists passing by daily. While structurally sound, water penetration and vandalism pose direct threats to the building. The preservation of this historic house has the potential to allow the public to understand a full history of the area, including McConnell's role in the forced removal of native Cherokee, white expansion through the land lottery system, and development of the area through local and state politics. The old Campbell County Courthouse, one of the last Greek Revival buildings constructed in Georgia, was built in 1871 and served as a courthouse until 1932, when Campbell County was annexed into Fulton County. Placed in the National Register of Historic Places in 1976, the property has been publicly owned and was used by the local historical society until its relocation in 2020. The courthouse has been unoccupied for over 2 years when on August 31st, 2022, the building caught fire, requiring the fire department to punch holes in the roof and flood the structure with water. Members of this community hope to gather support to stabilize and rehabilitate this historic courthouse, using the opportunity to develop and implement a successful plan to return the building to productive use. The Wilkes County Training School was established in 1956 as an equalization school, combining roughly 40 rural African American schools in Wilkes County and teaching 1st through 12th grades of African American students. During integration in 1970, the previously segregated white high school was merged onto this campus, and the 9th through 12th grades were renamed Washington Wilkes Comprehensive High School. Abandoned since 2011, the training school is a vital resource in telling the local and state history of African American public education. The building suffers from a lack of maintenance and deterioration. Involved residents hope to see Wilkes County Training School restored, used as a new space for the community, and recognized as an important piece of local heritage. Originally constructed for Presley and Rachel Thedford Yates, this house near Yates Springs is one of the few remaining antebellum homes in Catoosa County. Presley Yates received the land in the Cherokee Land Lottery of 1832, and the house was completed in the late 1830s, with later additions made in the early 1900s. Presley Yates served as a delegate to the Georgia Secession Convention in 1861 and voted against secession despite being an enslaver himself. Because of the house location next to a critical water source which provides much of Catoosa County's clean water supply, public access and intensive rehabilitation are not currently viable. The house has been vandalized on several occasions, and improved security of the site is necessary. The options for saving the Yates House may be limited, but the property owner, local historical society, and community advocates are eager to collaborate on opportunities to preserve this early resource and its unique history. The Georgia Trust looks forward to working with each of these sites in the coming year as we continue our important work of saving diverse resources around the state. Again, we are grateful for the local advocates who supported these nominations, and we commend each of you for your continued support of preservation in Georgia.